But what I love is that process from lack of confidence to increasing confidence to, look what I made.
Welcome to Peak Pyrography, where we discuss artistry and process with creators in the woodburning and pyrography community. I'm your host, Justine Fedde. I was introduced to woodburning in 2020 and haven't looked back since. Today on the podcast, we have Crystal Bailar from Mosstangle Arts. It was one of Crystal's online classes during the pandemic that introduced me to woodburning and pyrography. She's from the Pacific Northwest, and her art is often inspired by the nature and mountains and skies that she sees when she heads out her front door. As Crystal says, adventure, create, inspire. All right. Well, hello, Crystal. Welcome on Peak Pyrography. I'm so thrilled to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is fun. First pyrography podcast, at least that I know of.
I'm excited to get it started, get it going, and to talk to people, especially you. I mean, it was one of your classes that got me started on pyrography, and I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be doing all of this fun stuff if it weren't for you.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Thank you. I mean, that's it gets right to my heart there.
And I mean, you talk about Crystal Bailar got me into pyrography, and the number of other people that are like, yep, me too, is really so cool.
Wow. It's really good to hear that. Sometimes we don't always know how much we're affecting people or, our impact. I think it's always bigger than you realize it is.
I think so. How did you get started in woodburning?
Well, December 2017, and the only reason I remember that is because it was Christmas, and we were getting ready somebody was selling some little, just wood rounds in Facebook, and I was like, oh, it'll be fun to make some coasters for the house. The family's coming to visit, and we had just moved to Washington that spring, and so I was kind of like making my house a P&W home. And anyway, so we had these, I just bought them, and I thought, I know we have like an old wood burning tool somewhere in the garage because the kids did it when they were in, grade school or junior high or something. And we couldn't find it. So my husband ran to Home Depot and just bought the $12 like Weller, old school bright orange handle wood burning tool. And I just did some trees on that. And the people, I posted about it. I was like, well, this is kind of fun. And I had friends asking me to make them stuff. And it just, the first time I did it, I really loved the feel of the wood burning, and like, this is really cool. And this is a fun way to draw. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to do wood burning forever. It wasn't like my new hobby at that point. But then I shared with someone, it wasn't even online, and they just thought, well, hey, I would like that for something. And so then I just started making, and it just became something I did more often, and I grew to love it. So it's I had no idea about wood burning until that day, that month, as far as whether I would do anything with it. It was like just something that was out there. So
that's so fun. So then you picked it up and you made the coasters, and then
I just started making.
Yeah, it just kept going.
It kept going, and then I think that year, even just that spring, I thought, I wonder what it would be like to put some color in here, because I love watercolors and I have tons of them. And I just thought, well, maybe watercolor would be interesting. And I no longer have that very first piece that I did with watercolor, but I don't really share it much anyway. So it was when I realized, I thought that, watercolor would maybe be interesting. And it turned out to be way more cool than I thought it would be. And so then I started adding color and trying different kinds of wood, getting local wood, and then getting stuff off online, and just kept adding more and more things that I could do. And, eventually got my first professional tool, which was a razor tip. And then started teaching classes, and it's just been a lot of just growing every year. So.
And so is Mosstangle is your business name, Mosstangle Arts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And does that keep you busy full time now, or I read that you were a nurse. So are you still doing nursing?
Right. So I retired from nursing last year, 2022 in October. And but it's not because woodburning was taking all my time. What had happened was back when I first started, I was working full time. I first started pyrography, and I went to a half-time position like a year later. And that had nothing to do with the pyrography. It just worked out that I could do a half-time position. And that gave me a lot more time. So then I had more time to kind of build my business. And I'm really slow and things take me a long time. So now I'm not a nurse anymore, and I have all this time, but it still just takes me forever to do things, but I can do more, right? Because I have more time. So, I go through periods of, I have more time to play with my art instead of just making things, right? And instead of just constantly working on the business. And, the first couple of years, just that building a website and selling on Etsy, and then selling on my own website, and then adding in classes and just all that growth stuff. After a while, it seemed like I wasn't creating as much art as I wanted to. But I got better with it over time. And so that was what that extra time allowed me to do, was to now, okay, I can do some business stuff. And then I can also spend time creating, coming up with new ideas, going places, being able to go hiking and be inspired and be outside. Those are things that I'm allowing myself to do more rather than just pile on more work. So
that seems like it worked out so well for you, that transition and giving you that time.
Yeah. And I'm just really blessed to have live in the situation I live in, to have the support I have and the help I have. And, I think someone once called their husband their patron because he pays for everything. But I mean, it's not really like that. I mean, we take care of each other, but, it allows for me to do this. So
you can both bring so much to that partnership and
right. Yeah.
Support each other. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
And you mentioned you're in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Up in Washington.
Yeah.
And so you like to get outside and get out in nature a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of my jam. That's what people say. No, it's what fills me up. It's what gives me energy. It's what allows me to be creative, to have that margin in my mind that allows me to not be critical of myself or overly judgmental of my work, because I'm allowed to just relax. It's like meditating, and some people would call it that, because I spend a lot of time just focusing on, what's going on around me. I mean, there's days I will rehash things in my mind while I'm walking. There are days I pray while I'm walking. Sometimes but most of the time it's just this, I like to call it like a soft focus of the world around me, because I like to take it all in, but I also like to look at the details. So a lot of my walking is this and trail running. I do a lot of that. And I will have that kind of soft focus where I can see where I'm going, but I'm also kind of paying attention out here, but nothing's really taking a lot of energy to look at or to pay attention to. But then something will catch my eye, and then I can transition and really focus on that and look at that, there's a stump, looks like a face, or, there's this cool pile, this frosty section on this path, or just, the mountain out, in the distance. But a lot of it's close up, detail kind of stuff. So
taking in that nature and letting it refresh you.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big part of what I do. Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very important. And I'm guessing that that's somewhere where the name Mosstangle came from.
which is hilarious. Great. I mean, it's so cool because I came up with the name when I was still living in Alaska, and that was I don't know. I would say we moved here in 2017, and then maybe it was 2015. Anyway, it's been like 10 or more years since I've had that name. When I originally got kind of decided on that name, I was just taking pictures and I was posting them on Instagram. And I went to craft fairs and sold like prints and cards and things. And so I was just doing nature photography mostly. And then I thought, well, it'd be cool, how can I come up with a name? So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but it really had nothing to do with nature and me walking in nature, except for that is it does have something to do with it in the same sense that, there's a sun and it gives you light, right? So it's like, it's a thing
it's
that's
part of
there.
your being.
It's part of who I am. So yes, it's part of my name, but only because it's such a big part of me. And, but anyway, so the story is I love this author. One of my favorite authors is George MacDonald, and he's a Victorian myth fairy tale writer. And he was a pastor in Scotland. And so he also did a lot of religious works, but he did a lot of fantasy, like fairy tales, and some really good, wonderful stories. And one of the stories he writes is called The Golden Key. It's a short story. And it talks about this little boy that found, he went to the end of the rainbow, and there was a golden key sitting at the end of the rainbow, and he picked up the key and he wanted to know what it was for. And so he travels, he's going to go on this journey to find where the door that opens with that key. And he meets a girl along the way, and they go along on these travels. And so the boy's name is Mossy and the girl's name was Tangle. And so between the two, I was like, well, Mossy and Tangle. And I was like, oh, Moss Tangle. And it just kind of flowed out, and that's what it was. And they end up traveling together. They meet all kinds of like interesting characters, and they age through the time. And then when they finally find the place where the key opens, they realize it's like heaven. That's kind of it's kind of an allegory, but not really. But it's like that place that what we see here on, Earth, we're only shadows of it. And then there's the place you go where there's the real world. And anyway, so that's the story, and that's where it comes from. So it's and then I moved to Washington, right? And it's like moss everywhere, and like, I just absolutely, all the trees and all the things, and it just fit Mossy and Tangle, and it just ended up being the perfect name anyway. So I kept it.
I love name stories. I love hearing where it comes from, because stuff like that, I was like, oh, obviously it's because she loves being outside and moss and Pacific Northwest, but that it has a whole backstory and came from another book. That's amazing.
Yeah, most people, and I'm fine with people thinking that, because that's kind of where it comes from, in the sense that that's deeper in my, so like deep inside of me already. But
that's why you identified with Mossy and Tangle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's amazing. So you've been doing Mosstangle Arts for, you said, almost 10 years now, between the photography side of it and the pyrography. Yeah. And what are some of your favorite pieces, or if you have it or don't have it, just what are some of your favorite pieces that you've done?
So I have, oh man, it just depends on, I think when I was adding color. So I have one piece that of my few favorites that I actually still have that nobody's bought, which I'm totally okay with, because I love it. And it reminds me, it's a combination of the wood burning and watercolor. So the watercolor is actually the star of the show on this one. But so anyway, I can show you that. And then I have a big couple of big pieces. There's one big piece that I did that that ended up selling, that is in a lot of my like website photographs, and because it was like, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall, about 12, 18, 15 inches wide, on a big old piece of basswood, you know, those basswood planks.
Yes, they're beautiful.
And that was just a mountain scene with wildflowers, you know, so that, and trees and stuff. So that was pretty special. But yeah. So this is the one that, and I did this early on when I was doing watercolor.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
So it was my, you know, kind of foray into doing these trees with texture, and then adding in the watercolor galaxy skies. This was probably the first galaxy that I felt like I finally got it right, you know, and like
it takes some practice.
It takes some practice, and getting that, like, and letting go, you know, not just, it doesn't have to look like a real thing, you know, it can just be, you know, evoke that feeling of the thing that you're trying to paint. And so that was, that's probably one of my favorite ones, just because it reminds me so much of that time when I was learning about texture and learning about doing these silhouettes and learning about painting the galaxies. And so that's probably it.
And you're pretty, I mean, you do a lot of the galaxy work with mountains, or you do a class for galaxy gnomes around Christmas time, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I keep watching your galaxies, and every time you put them up, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it another go, give it another try.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned some, I mean, you know, I love that I can combine both the mediums that I love, and I've learned a lot.
Were you doing watercolor before you were pyrography?
But yes, but not consistently. It was one of my hobbies, you know. I wasn't
one of those that you enjoyed.
Yeah. I enjoy watercolor. I think I've enjoyed that since, I don't know, I was younger, a lot younger, you know, in my 20s. So it's always been there as a medium that I love, but I've never felt really good at it enough to really share my work. And so now being able to take that and add it to wood has been just a real pleasure for me. Yeah.
That's so fun. They're beautiful pieces.
Thanks.
And then I met you through Kula Cloth,
which
that was actually the first way that I heard anything about you, is that I bought this Kula Cloth.
Yep, that's the first one I did.
And for anybody who doesn't know, a Kula Cloth is a pee cloth for anybody who goes hiking in the woods and you need something to wipe after you go pee in the woods and you don't want to use leaf, use a Kula Cloth. So they did this artist series, and that one I looked at, I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I need that one. I ordered that. And that was probably in spring of 2020 or something like that. It was right after it came out.
Yeah. 29. I think I submitted it in the fall of, 20 before that. So 2019, I submitted the design, and then it came out. Yeah. Early 2020. Mm-hmm.
And that was, so then I was following along with Kula, as their brand, and they were hosting all those they were hosting online virtual classes through their Kula Academy. And I was like, I want to do one of these. I'm going to try this wood burning one. Completely not knowing that it was the same person who had created this one. So then I took your wood burning class.
That's
and
awesome.
Crystal, I can't tell you how much stuff of Crystal Bailar-Mosstangle is scattered over my desk right now.
That's awesome.
Because you were how I got into this. So how did you get involved with Kula Cloth?
Okay, so initially it was it's hard to remember how far back. I used to follow Anastasia when she was just doing the Musical Mountaineers, and she was talking about being an adventurepreneur. And so early on, kind of in her right before the Kula Cloth came out, right before she started really she had it available. And so I kind of was on watch, oh, Kula cloth, that sounds interesting. I want one of those. And, just kind of there. And then the year, I think it was 2019 when they did the first Kula cloth design contest. And I submitted a design. It wasn't chosen, which is fine, for one of their artist series that for the contest. And I just basically took a wood burn piece, formatted it so that it was the right, and just did it because I just wanted to get it done, right? I wasn't gonna worry about the design. And anyway, so I just got it done, sent it, and it wasn't the greatest, but so I didn't get chosen. But then later they're talking about there's some other wood burning stuff, like they had like a wood kula, and I was like, oh my gosh, it would be so fun to do like a wood burned kula. And Anastasia, I think, emailed me right around the same time that could I make the trophies for this contest, and they'd be made out of wood, but they would look like kulas. And so I made these trophies, and they had like, the grand prize winner, and they had the gratitude guru, and then there was another. So there was like a first, second, and third. So I had a big one and then two little ones, and they were like little wood trophies that look like Kula cloths. So, and then shortly after that, I designed the one you got with the backpack and the tree, and they made that, and it sold out like immediately. So you're lucky to get one.
Yeah.
And then I did it anyway. So that in 2020, or after the pandemic started, I think it was in April or May. So early on, whenever they started Kula Academy, I got an email from Allison who runs all the Kula Academy stuff. She's the event coordinator. And could I do a wood burning class? And would that even be possible? And how would we do that? And so I said, well, I guess we could just do an online class, and I'll just send people we can try, right? Like, what's wrong with trying? Let's just try. And so we had, I could send everyone a kit. We had a project. We did like a wood burning 101. And so then that's how I started doing classes for them, a lot of classes through the, when people were really wanting community and they couldn't get together, and just and what an amazing thing that Kula offered this. I mean, they're not making money off the Eventbrite, off the Kula Academy. This is a way to bring people together, and maybe they're, Allison might be, I think she's more than earning her, she's earning, she's doing a lot of work to put it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the story. And I've designed one other Kula cloth, and I just, they're ready for me to design another one as soon as I can do it, because they sell out every time I do them. So, and it's not, okay. And I'm not trying to like talk myself down. It's not just my art. It's not just me and my art. It's this idea that there's something different out there, and it doesn't look like the other things, and it's pyrography. I mean, like, how can pyrography work on fabric? And it's not the same as wood. It looks different, but if you can add in the color, it kind of seems to make it something. And plus, Kula has, like, their Kula cloths are kind of like it's not about how beautiful is the art. It's about fun and just some of them are pretty goofy, right? But
yeah,
that's great.
Well, and yours was so special because I think it was the only one at the time when I was looking that had a backpack on it, and I was like, I'm going backpacking. I need to have, I want this one with the backpack.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I enjoyed making it, and I enjoyed, putting the little Kula on the backpack and doing the whole little thing like that. It was a fun little project for me.
And now you even make Kula cloth style earrings.
Yes, and I do that too. So, and those that's another thing that Kula has done. That's they're just giving to the community by offering the shop that they have for artists. So there's some artists who we just, and Anastasia or the Kula just, they buy some earrings from and then they sell them on the website, and they're not still, again, it's not about making money. It's about, reaching out and just offering places for us to be successful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That was so wonderful at that point to hear that, to have that available for us, to take the class. And it was so, and my cousin was in Washington, D.C., and I was in Colorado, and we both signed up to take the class together. And so it was like we're texting each other on the side and taking this class and burning these leaves like this one. And it was just so much fun. And it was awesome. Such a good way to connect there in the late fall of the pandemic when it was, you felt like you hadn't seen anyone for almost a year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was really special for me too, because all of my in-person classes had to be canceled. And I was really missing that teaching part of what I do, and to be able to do that, and that it was a success, because, it might not have worked wood burning online. I mean, like live online classes, I had never seen it before to do that. Doesn't mean it wasn't happening. It's just, I didn't know it could work, but I was willing to try.
Well, and it was great that you were able to send like the walnut hollow basic tool and all the wood, the transfer paper. Yeah. There might have even been an embossing tool in there, like sandpaper, watercolor, every single thing that we needed for every step of the project came in that box. And it was such a great way to be introduced to it.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear that.
So what are you working on now?
Well, actually, I'm working on some projects for some classes I have coming up, because all of a sudden now we're back and people want classes again. I mean, all of a sudden now, because last year when I scheduled classes, people were not signing up. So I had to cancel several classes because people weren't interested. And these are in person. And I was getting really discouraged. I got really discouraged last fall. I had to cancel like 3 classes that were pretty much right in a row. And so it was part of struggling through that. And I kind of have taken a little break from just posting, and it just really, I shouldn't, not judging myself. See, I have to be careful because, we talk ourselves down so easily. But I just kept like talking to the people I know, and a few good things happened. Like I was able to start selling some things wholesale, and I was able to actually make more products. And so good things happened. But then I was discouraged with the classes, and this spring I just scheduled a few more in some places, and I feel like it's doing better. I have one class that's either sold out or has one ticket left. And so now I have a few more coming very soon. I'm just putting the projects together because I don't like to schedule. I don't like to publish a class unless I have the project figured out. So for this next one, I'll grab it. I'm doing like a little mushroom kind of, what do you call it? Anyway, so that I'm working on.
Fun. Yeah.
So that one is actually done, but I'm doing a series of mushrooms. And so the class is going to be this little guy, and then I'm going to offer a couple other patterns that I have designs for and teach, and it's just a simple, super easy project, we transfer the design, we burn the mushroom, I teach them how to do shading and texture, and then we paint. So super easy class. Anyway, so I'm working on those designs for those classes, and I think I came a little late to the mushroom fad, but I've always loved mushrooms. I've always thought they were super cool. So for me, it was just a natural thing. I was always afraid. I was so afraid of doing them because I was like, oh, I can't make it look like a real mushroom, right? But then I was able to let go of that, and it was fine. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, the cycle of the year and what people like. January, everyone's all fitness, and spring people want classes, and in the fall you're like, can I just buy something to give to people?
Right.
The cycle of the year is
it's true.
Interesting.
It's true.
Like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you source your supplies for all these projects and
all over the
your own
place. So,
work?
yeah, that's almost a full-time job right there. Well, it's not anymore because I have places, I'm always researching, trying to find new sources, and I want quality products that I can use. And but a lot of Amazon for like little things, like little hangers for the backs and for paintbrushes and for all the little like easy things I want to buy a bunch of, and I can't always buy enough to get a wholesale price from a place, right? Because they want me to buy 1,000. Well, I really only need like 100, and 100's a lot, right? Because how many classes am I going to do? And I do, and I've reordered things. But so Amazon, I use the Blick art site, Blick art supply. Really great for like bulk discounts, and I get almost all my paint from Dick Blick, and then my brushes there definitely. But for wood, I shop around locally if I can find places. I go to Aspen Rustic Creations. Aspen, they're my favorite source for aspen. It's always high quality. Prices are good. I think
and they come pre-sanded and
they're beautiful. And it's like, so I do like this is one of my pieces I did with aspen. So
yes.
They have such a beautiful like textures and colors, and they can come kind of like really blank, so then you can add whatever. So there's just so many different, anyway, so I love them. High quality, very dependable. I've rarely had, a lot of times I order from a company and I'll get 50 rounds and I have to throw away 3 or 4 or something because they're cracked or the bark has fallen off, or I'll use them for practice or whatever. And with Aspen Rustics, I don't think I've ever had to throw away a piece.
Yeah.
So they're for Aspen, them, and then of course it's David and Renee for all the beautiful wood that, so many, and they do unique woods, and I really, really appreciate that. Everything they do is high quality, sanded, ready to go, like just beautiful, beautiful wood. And then of course Walnut Hollow for basswood right now still, but I usually get that from like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever. And I'm always on the lookout at thrift stores and just random places for random pieces of wood. So, that's that too. So yeah, all over I get stuff from all over. So.
Crystal, let's take a real quick break here for a minute. We'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good.
And welcome back. So Crystal, what you're doing classes, you're doing other things. What kind of stuff inspires you? What excites you? Is it the classes? Is it your own work? Is it custom pieces?
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as in my art, it's, the teaching classes is probably the most energizing thing I do. I love people. That's just, it's who I am. It's, part of my being as well. And it's funny because I spend a lot of time outside and I like solitude. I love solitude, but I also am energized by being around people. And so it's like the solitude helps with my reset, but mostly I love teaching classes. I love the hands-on. I love seeing. The biggest thing to me, and this is why I love in-person classes the best, is when we start this thing and people are looking at what we're about to do and they feel like how is that even possible? Like, I can't do this, or I want to try, but there's no way it's going to be. I always appreciate that they're even there, because sometimes it's a little daunting to try woodburning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right. And so I'm always thankful for that. But the big thing is so then there's this challenge and they're not sure what they can do. And then they're working along and they're like, oh, this is so frustrating. Not everybody, but this is what I love watch happen, this transition from this is really frustrating to oh, this is kind of cool and interesting, to, oh my gosh, look what I just made, right? And so when I see that happen, it's just it just infuses me with like energy and joy. And a big thing is, so many people, you're watching the process, and it's fun to watch someone like get it, right? They start to figure it out and they're struggling, and then boom, they got it. But what I love is that process from lack of confidence to increasing confidence to, look what I made. And, I love encouraging and people to, that what they're doing is beautiful. Even if they think it looks like, at first they think like, oh, this looks like a kindergartner made it. And I'm like, maybe if that's what you want to say, but it looks like, you made it and it's something different. And even that is beautiful art. I mean, it's not, there's some real
to see their style come through
reality,
versus
right. And to see your style and to say, I taught you to make trees like this, but look at how you took that and you made them like this. And I think that's really cool, or that's amazing, or you added that, or so that's my favorite, is the teaching of in-person classes. I like online classes as well. And I just haven't done as many because they are not quite as, I feel like they're fine. They're great, right? They're just not as successful. I feel like I can't get in there and like, here's how you do this, and, show them and say, here's a pen, and take a piece of wood and take the pen and kind of show them how it's done. And, but, people still sign up for online classes occasionally. So obviously there's a want or a desire for that. And it's really great to see so many other pyrographers offering classes now, whether that's in person or online. I think Renee just posted an online class, and it's like, I want to take that class. Just
right. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it or how many you've taught or anything. Mm-hmm. You're like, I want to learn how you do it.
Right. It's pretty fun to watch that. But, but I also love creating art. I love the sense of that just doing it and creating it, and something comes out, and I actually look at it, and I'm at the point in my world where I can look at it and I love it. Even if it's not some fantastic work of art by others' judgment, I've gotten to the point in my life where I can love my own art, and I can call myself an artist. And, all those, what do they call it? The mental things that we go through, the mindset.
Yeah. Cause you start out and you're like, I am not an artist. I am not Picasso. I am not, know, I'm not Mozart, whatever it is. And, and then, but then you get over that and I am an artist, and I can, this is art, and it is my art, and I love it, and I'm proud of it. And well,
and there's somebody out there who loves it too. Right. I mean, there's some things that are never intended for, I don't really care if they sell or not sell. There's some things that, I pour my heart into it, and I hope somebody's going to love it. And, pieces that I've had for 3-4 years that are just sitting here, I still love them. And I'm okay to have them here, but, it's good to know but there are people, I'll just wait. Someday somebody's going to say, that is the piece I want, right? That's, so.
And it'll find its home, and it'll.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. What tools do you use for creating? You said you started with an old basic model, and you've used razor tip. What are you using these days?
So I still use my razor tip. It's the SSD10. So I don't have any of the like newer razor tips with the digital displays and stuff. It's just your basic. I can hold it up for you. It's right here. Everything I do is right here on this one desk. So let's see if I can get this around the corner without unplugging it. Yeah. So I do the Duo. It's the SSD10, and it's got place for two pens. And I do that. I use that occasionally, and it does kind of save, your wires, so that you're not like pulling and putting, it'll make those connections last a little longer to have the two. but I find that it heats up so fast that there's really no, you can get by really for a very long time with a single, single plug-in. And then I started using the Optimal one as well. And I love by PJL.
Yeah.
And it's not like I switched. I use both. They both have their purpose, and it's more about the tips. So I've started, or the pens, they both get really nice and hot. And part of me, I just wanted the Optimal one because I wanted to try it, right? And so I love it for different reasons. I love the heat that it produces, and I love the tips that come with it they just feel really solid. And they heat up really nice, and I get nice smooth burns from them. So those are my two main wood burning tools. I still occasionally pull out the Walnut Hollow Versatool, or Creative Wood, no, the Versatool, and do like for some texture things, because it's kind of a neat. And plus, a lot of people don't have the more advanced tools, and I want to be able to teach them how to. So I want to stay in practice with using the wedge, solid point wedge tip. So
yeah, that makes sense, and it's a great way, especially with the classes that you teach, to start with that really accessible value tool, or the basic models.
Yeah.
And then if people like it, they can choose to upgrade on their own.
That's right.
What are some of your favorite nibs or tips or pens?
I love I use the writing tip a lot. I have and I like the skew. They call it a skew tip, I think is what they call it, with the, that curved edge. Let me see which one. This one. This is one. I love my shader. I use a lot of tools. So this is, let's see if I can get this up here.
Yes.
So that's that skew, edge there.
Yeah, that one's really
like
nice.
That one. Use it a lot for lines, and even a little shading, because you can tilt it. It's very versatile. It's probably the most of this one, and then the shader that's got a nice tip on it too, because then I can use the shader for lines too. And then I have this tip that I use for trees, and I only use it that's pretty much all I use it for. And that's my razor. That's on the razor tip. And so I will use that forever until it breaks. And it's just a writing tip that has the tip is a little bit filed down to a point. So it allows me to do kind of those kind of bumpy textures in the trees. So, yeah.
That's so cool. And then you said you get your paints from Blick Artwork.
Yeah, the watercolors. So I buy different brands. It just depends on the color and the brand. For people who are just beginning to paint, I started out with just like the Kuretake pans that you can get off of Amazon, and they work really well. So for my personal painting, I use those a lot, because they're in a nice, convenient pan, box with already all ready to go, and they're very vibrant. So I really like those too. Yeah.
That's awesome. Lots of good supplies and other things.
Yeah.
So we've kind of covered this a little bit. You're online, but you're kind of stepping back a little bit right now. But to find you online, you're on Instagram at Mosstangle, or you've got your website, MosstangleArts.com.
Mosstangle.
Or Mosstangle.com.
Yeah.
Mosstangle.com.
Yeah. Everything you can find me is Mosstangle. YouTube, Pinterest, all the places. If I'm there, it's Mosstangle. So it's
perfect. No one else, you're not fighting anyone else for the handle?
Not really. I think I found one other new Instagram account called Mosstangles, maybe. But it's a little different. It's not wood burning. It's some other thing, but it's kind of, yeah.
So you sell your art in person, you sell your art on your website, online. How do you sell your art? Where do you sell it?
Well, most of my sales come from in-person sales and then commissions. And then I have some art. Actually, my website hasn't been updated in a little while. I have a little bit of art. I actually have a lot. So when I made a bunch of stuff for the Christmas markets, I didn't add that to my website until after. So I'm building my product, my listings for those items that, I still have, some art, wooden spoons, just little things. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sell it all and then only make listings for the ones that you still have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Christmas theme stuff isn't going to go up there, but it's mostly, but there's still a lot of other kinds of art that I do. Yeah. So, or pieces.
A lot of mountains and trees and nature.
Exactly. Which are available year round.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, right.
Yep. My husband just climbed a mountain yesterday.
Oh, nice. Which mountain did he climb?
He did Quandary Peak.
And where's that? And I don't know.
In Colorado. It's one of the 14ers.
Yes, the 14ers, of course.
Yeah, he had to get that mountain summit in.
Yeah, well, and if I lived there, that's what I'd be doing too, so.
Yeah. Yes. So how do you take care of Crystal? What do you do to take care of yourself?
Yeah, well, I go for walks. I actually walk every single day, and hikes, of course, and running. Right now, and this is another part of why I was discouraged through the fall, is I have a foot injury that I've been kind of recovering from, and so I'm just walking again for a while. But as that heals, but so spending time outside. That's really the big deal. So if I can't walk, I just go outside. I do a lot of yard work. Physical exertion outdoors really goes a long way to helping my mindset and refreshing me. And so that's part of my daily routine. And then I spend time with family. I don't really need, it's like I say, I don't need alone time, but then I get a lot because I hike a lot by myself. So I get that solitude. But I'm, like I said, I'm more of a kind of an extrovert in the sense that people are what give me energy. And if I finish a class at 9:00 at night, it takes me a while to go to sleep. Right.
You're wired.
Right. I'm wired. So, but yeah, so it's mostly just getting outdoors, spending time with family. I have my faith. I spend time with people in my faith community, and these are just, I'm constantly just filling my bucket, filling my soul with love and the outdoors. And, very important, I eat well, I sleep. I go to bed at 9:00 and I get up at 5:00, and that's pretty much what I do every single day. And I sleep and drink lots of water, all those things are really important too. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Taking care of all aspects.
Yeah, it's true.
So are you able to spend most of your days now creating or outside?
I wish. So, I still have a house to take care of and a yard to take care of. I love to garden, so I do some of that. And then, so I feel like there's more, I wish I had a lot more time to do the things that, do the art, but, those other things are part of me too. So I like my house to be in order, right? That's not
functional
for me, right? Whatever's functional, right? For you but for me, that takes some time that I think maybe I could spend less time doing that, but then I would also, the chaos of things can sometimes overwhelm me. I do.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. So, so I have my things that I do, and I give a lot of my time to, my children are adults now. So I don't have like those, the things that small children take from your time, right? Or whatever, just the laundry, the feeding, the attention, all that stuff. I did that but we're done with
Yeah.
that. But I still, all three of my children live nearby, so I visit them we do stuff together. So I don't spend every day, all day creating. I usually just spend a couple hours if I can, but it's not as much as you would realize, and not as much as maybe I imagined I would have after I quit nursing. But
it's amazing how that time just kind of disappears. You're like, I'll have all this extra time. I've got 8 hours, 12 hours a day that I'm not working.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's gone.
Right. Well, chores and there's other things, one of the reasons I stopped, working, and quit nursing was I was doing a lot with Mosstangle and I wasn't getting outside as much as I wanted. And so a lot of that margin that I didn't have, I was able to create that when I left my job. And I don't know, that's just, how it happens. I'd like to spend more and I'm working on it, trying to streamline my days and I think the routine helps, having a routine in the morning and just get up, I get going, I do these things, and then I can sit down and do some work. So.
Awesome. Well, it's time for us to play a little game.
Okay, we're going to try. What's up?
All right. So this is the Deserted Island. You may have seen this in some of Rachel's from Woodburn Corner, some of her videos. And on the Deserted Island, you get one type of wood, one burner, one nib or pen, and then one other extra bonus item. So you're going to be on a deserted island doing some wood burning. What kind of wood are you burning on?
Probably aspen or cherry. It's close. It's close, but probably aspen wood. It's pretty versatile. And then my wood burning tool I would probably bring the Optima just because it's nice and compact and easy to keep track of. And I would use that skew tip because I can do a lot with it. And then the bonus item, a pencil.
A pencil? Yes.
Right.
That's a perfect answer. It's exactly what you need. Right. It's so much nicer to have that drawing, have something there that you're burning to instead of just freehand. Yeah. Awesome. So I like to have a moment of community building here. And what are 3 accounts? And it could be authors. It doesn't have to be accounts. It could be anybody that you take inspiration from or you think that others would also enjoy learning, seeing from.
Okay. Well, first of all, don't follow any accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Make sure that it's someone that you love or, that inspires you or lifts you up in some way. I find I've had to kind of call out some accounts that I love their work, but, I would find myself comparing too much or whatever with them. It's not their fault. It's just my own situation.
Yeah.
But so, oh man, there's so many people. So just 3 off the top of my head and 3 that I've kind of thought about a little bit before we had this conversation. So there's a watercolor artist her name's Jen Thiessen, and her Instagram is Wandering Pine Art. And she's definitely watercolor based, but she's just so encouraging and loving. And she teaches some classes on Kula Academy and just, anyway, so Wandering Pine Art. And then I don't know if you know Heather Martin from Firework Pyrography.
I don't. I'll have to check her out.
She does some really beautiful work, but at the same time, she's, I've had conversations with her and always felt like, we were friends, she was just very down to earth and also, very community minded and giving of her time and knowledge. And a third one, other than, it's like I can think of several, but I'm like, everybody's probably already following. So I'm going to say Woodburn Corner, because everybody might be saying that. So I've kind of like, yeah, she's a really amazing person to follow, Rachel.
Yes.
Just a pioneer in the community of woodburning community, and just so generous with all of her time and all of her knowledge. And, I just don't want to leave, even though that's probably 90% of the people who are, going to be on here are probably going to say that. But, she's
a great account to follow, and she's
it's great.
Putting on such great stuff. And when this comes out, it will have been, last week was the Woodburn sessions,
right?
Where she brought in six artists, and we all got to watch them do their burning, and it was completely free to attend live. And I think after the fact, the sessions are going to be available. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. So just very generous, and then also and not just in woodburning, but as making woodburning a business. So lot of, if you're a pyrographer, she's really a good person to follow if you aren't already.
Yes, yeah. I completely agree. What are the big things coming up for you? What do you have on the horizon right now?
Well, I'm definitely planning more and more classes, and I am going to work on a collection, which I'm kind of keeping that. I've started working on it. I've started doing some sketches for it, but it's going to definitely be woodsy. So that'll be coming out. It's different than what I've done. I've never done anything this kind of way. So it'll be a little different. So it'll be kind of fun, but I'm doing that. And then the summer is full of hikes. I have so many hikes planned. It's crazy. I'm going backpacking with my sister in September. We're going to do 100 miles on the John Muir Trail.
Awesome.
And
that's quite an accomplishment. I can't wait to watch that.
I would love to do a through hike, but we just can't. It's 211 miles long, and we just can't take 3 weeks right now, or 4 weeks to do that. So we could take 2 weeks or 10 days, and we can do 100 miles. So we're going to do that. And I just have a bunch of other trips planned and hikes planned. The summer is a low wood burning time and high travel inspiration time.
That's the best way. Take advantage of the weather while you've got it. And
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today, Crystal. This has been so nice to chat with you, and I can't wait to share this with everyone, and it's been a blast.
Well, it's been a blast for me. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm just I'm excited for you. I mean, this is fun to be a part of it, and it's an honor, and I'm loving it, but I just can't wait to see where this takes you. I'm pretty excited about hearing your podcasts, and just, it's going to be fun and exciting. It'll be really amazing to watch you grow.
Oh, thank you, Crystal.
Welcome.
Thanks for tuning in, and a special thank you to our guest, Crystal of Mosstangle Arts. I loved chatting with her. It was so special to have a chance to talk with her one-on-one. She's absolutely incredible. Next episode, we'll be chatting with Emily Carter of Embellina. Peak Pyrography is produced by Fedde Studios and Justine Fedde. Our producer and sound engineer is Kevin Fedde. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can share your comments on today's podcast or suggestions for the future on Instagram at peak_pyro or via email at peakpyrography@gmail.com. That's peakpyrography@gmail.com. Until next time, keep creating. I can't wait to see what you make next.